Hello and welcome back to Uncut Tutorials 2.0 here, and in today's episode we're going to be having a look at ships, the ship UI for combat specifically, and kind of explaining the naval organization side of things, of how you engage, the buttons you want to be thinking about, the benefits you get from that, and more. So let's get right into it. In today's video, I've gotten together a quick save of version 2.1. I've spawned in some ships from a automatically generated AI, essentially, or player race. And with that, we're going to have a look at kind of the UI, the interface, some of the things you might want to be knowing about, some of the things that you might be interested in, and so on. So the first thing we want to do is, obviously, we've got the Naval Organization tab here, and if you look on your left-hand side, you're going to see the fleets, which are colored in yellowy white, and then you've got your admin commands. Admin commands are basically where your headquarters go. You can make as many of them as you want, and you can do this by just clicking create admin, select the type of admin, and then just clicking create, and that'll create a new admin command, and then you can just drag that under another one. And what will happen is the commanders you have at the top of the admin command that go downwards will provide their bonus linearly. I believe it's a 1/4 bonus. So, for example, if you have a commander in the first command, so this command, and you have a 25%, or not a 25%, let's say a 20% bonus to survey speed, he will provide 5% bonus to fleets that are within this admin command, okay? Directly. And to this, and the admin commands, their own commander will provide their own bonuses. We have various types over here. These types show various things. So radius shows how much modification they are within range of each other. So, for example, you have a naval headquarters, right? So a naval headquarters is an installation that provides a range for how far the bonuses you see here will apply, and certain command types have larger radiuses, and you can increase this radius by building more naval headquarters, which increases the naval headquarter level. You have all these different bonuses. These are the additional benefits provided to you by these different commands. So if you have a survey command, they'll provide a 25% benefit to surveying, and they'll also have that radius mod increase. Same with fleet training. They provide the fleet training primarily, but you can also get passive fleet training that doesn't use active sources from general. So those are kind of admin commands. You can auto assign over here, which is pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, let's move over to ships and ship combat. So when you select a fleet, you can just toggle this tab, and then you can see all the ships within that fleet. You can select them. You control from the fleet itself, so here. And then when you have a look at ships themselves, they give you your ship design, your class design, your ordnance template, your transported items, your armor status, your damage control, your history, and your miscellaneous. And this is all in your ship overview. So in the ship overview, we have our ship design, which is exactly our design. We have a bunch of helpful information like construction date, ordnance that we have on our vessel, casualties we may have taken, the morale or training, how our engines are doing, all that good stuff. In class design, we can just see a simple view of the class design, of the actual design of the vessel. Ordnance template. Now, ordnance template has essentially replaced what we called missile series previously. So what you can do is you'll have a class template. So in this case, the class template is what we set in this window over here, okay, for default. And that will then tell the ship, okay, this is what we'll use. But what you can do is you can change this up so that you can say, add this to a ship template loadout by double clicking here, and this will mean that this ship will only take the things that are within the ship template loadout instead of the class template loadout. So you can load individual ships differently than from what they default are loaded to. And then you see the current loadout. For example, we have a 1,275 anti-missile missiles. We can put no missile size restriction, show missiles like that. We can copy from the class to other classes. We can copy to class, and we copy to fleet. So what this means is we can, if we set up a template, we can then hit copy to fleet, and the entire fleet, so all these that are of the same temperament in terms of they can have an actual ordnance loadout, they have missiles, will take their loadout. Same thing with copies class, same thing copy from class. Alright, then we have transported items. This shows you ordnance. It will also show you troops that are in transport bays over here. We have armor status. So armor status is really simple. Basically, each weapon does a different kind of damage grid. So for example, a missile, if you have a weapon, warhead strength 4 missile, and it hits this vessel, you will do 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage. And this means that you'll penetrate 2 layers of armor. So this is 3 layers. We'd penetrate 2 because of our damage profile. And if we did more than that, we would be able to go down. And once they have the red, or they're penetrated through this, they start doing damage to the internals, and that subsequently will start affecting the hits to kill. So it will take 89 hits to kill this ship, so 89 damage to kill the ship. But if you were, for example, to hit the engines, you'd blow the ship up completely. In terms of it would cause a explosion, which would cause a lot of damage, and it has a chance for that. Same thing with the magazine, that also has a chance to explode if it gets hit. Then we have damage control. So it's a little bit more difficult to explain. So we have a few things. This is all your components that can be repaired and that can take damage. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So these are pretty basic components. This includes your armor, this includes active sensors, your weapons, all that good stuff. So you can see the amount that you have of them, the cost, which directly relates to how much MSP will be cost to repair it. So 84 build points costs 84 MSP to repair, or maintenance supplies, not missile size points. Maintenance supplies is what I mean. You then have DAC, EDAC, I believe this is the percentage chance for the actual repair to occur for the individual component, and this is the electronic version of that for the damage control. You can have damage control modules that will improve this chance, and you can add them onto ships. Though I haven't used these too much, but I'm pretty sure that's what that means. You can see these are the damaged portions, and then over here you can see over here the components that you currently have in the queue that are repairing. You can automate it. You can hit repair on individual components by selecting here and then click repair. It's not damaged in this case, so we can't do that. You just hit auto queue if you want to repair all of them as quickly as possible. History. So when the ship does things, you will see things that occur in here. And then we have miscellaneous. So miscellaneous over here can tell you a lot of things. So first thing that it can do is if you have SM on, you can do a bunch of groovy things like refuel your ship. So I'll actually show you that. So if we just open this up and we go to, it might not be in here. I'll reopen the window. Miscellaneous. There we go. So as you can see, you can refuel your ship. You can SM part refuel. You can abandon your ship, which is not SM feature. You can select a hull number, so you can change your hull number for your ship. You can actually also see what damage would be like to your vessel. So we can do normal number of attacks, internal damage, and this would show essentially what this would do. As far as I understand it, is kind of like a sim thing. So you can see how much damage it would take, or how much damage, manual damage versus selected ship. I don't use this too much. It's not very important. I don't know. I don't do much with it, so I wouldn't worry about it. But you can basically use your component weapons that you have researched and kind of see how that would do damage against your ship accordingly. So we can see internal damage, external damage, and that should, if we have a look, yeah, there we go. So we can actually see, we can cause that damage to occur, and we're not like actually damaged, but we can actually see the damage that's occurring to the ship. So if we look at the damage, wow, look how much damage we took, right? We can actually see the seriousness there. Really useful tool, actually. I should use this more, but I don't use it a lot. I wouldn't pay that much attention to it. If you do want to use it, it is there, and it's pretty cool. We can do retain tech data. That's I believe has to do with boarding and taking ships. Refuel priority, resupply priority if they're in a fleet, and this is lower priority, so that means lower number is higher. Then they will refuel before other ships, because most of the time when you're refueling a fleet with a refueling system, you're refueling ships one at a time, not multiple times at once. With a refueling hub, you can do that more than one ship at a time. Alright, Now that we have the ship overview out of the way, let's head over to ship combat. So in ship combat, we have this window, okay? Over on the left-hand side, you have your fire controls, your weapons, and then the available stuff within your magazine, okay? This goes for missiles and for beam weapons. And in fact, I'm going to get a beam weapon ship right now for you guys, just because obviously I want to show off everything a little bit more. There's not just missiles. Okay, so first things first. To basically fire a weapon, what you're going to do is you're going to take your weapons that are assigned here. You're going to go over to this part, which I recommend. You can drag normally like this, but I recommend hitting assign all, and then we can just drag this once, and it will assign all our missile launchers to that fire control. And it's just done by drag and drop. Once assigned to the fire control, that is basically the point at which you can fire from. But first, we need to actually assign missiles to those. So like with assign all, we're going to hit grab these and bring them over here, and there we go. We've assigned missiles to all of these missile launchers. With beam weapons, you wouldn't have to do this. And I can show that right now. We would just assign the ultraviolet lasers like that. Once you have that then assigned, those weapons assigned, you're going to get a list of potential targets from over here. You need to be within that. An active sensor needs to be able to see your target for you to actually be able to target them, okay? And your vessel, obviously, to fire must be within range of the target. So you would just drag your target over to your fire control. It would put it under the fire control, and then you would select the fire control finally, and you hit open fire control. And what this would do is directly open fire with all of those weapons, and they would fire as soon as possible. Keep in mind that because ships need to train and they may not have the best crews, it may take some time before they actually fire or get ready. This is why I recommend selecting sync fire on. And what this will do is for this vessel, and you can even put fleet sync fire on, is say, hey, do not fire until all the other ships in your fleet are ready to fire. And this is important because if you are firing missiles, you do not want to fire one ship and then another ship between 5 seconds, because that means that they'll have a much easier time intercepting your missiles. You want to fire your entire salvo all at once as quickly as possible. For beam weapon ships, is not that important. And also, another thing I forgot to mention on this left-hand side is ECCM. So certain ships will have access to electronic countermeasures, and you can assign these to fire controls, and they will counter electronic countermeasures, which are electronical warfare interference against your fire controls that reduce your range, that cause you to get negative hit chances, and more like that. Now on this right-hand side, we've got point defense modes, so let's kind of explain what they are. First off, area defense is essentially a mode in which your weapon, once assigned, so all you need is a beam weapon assigned to a fire control, and you don't even need to have that fire control and open fire for certain fire modes, but for area defense you do. You put the fire control on open fire, you select area defense by dragging it over, so we can actually do that now if I bring it over. Let's do this, yeah, area defense. Point defense mode, area defense. And then we can just hit open fire. And what this will do, fire control, what this will do is it will basically shoot at any missiles it can detect that are within range of it as quickly as possible. So this would be great for kiting. Now, the reason that this isn't used, and you don't hear about this a lot, is because missiles tend to be so fast that ships can't effectively get enough shots off to be worth it. This is combined with the fact that most point defense weapons don't have long enough range to be able to be effective in this regard. So area defense is used very little in actual combat by most Aurora players. However, lasers can be used in this capacity to some effect, and you may want to consider this if you're going for a laser strategy. Next, we have Final Defensive Fire and Final Defensive Fire Self Only. These two modes are directly important. These are the primary point defense beam weapon modes that you will use. So essentially, you hit Final Defensive Fire, and what this means is you will always shoot at the missiles that are going into you, but you do it at 10,000 kilometers, and you only get one chance with that one shot against that salvo of missiles. So missiles come in, they impact you, but you fire your point defense, just before they impact, and you kill as many missiles as you need to kill. You do not get any extra shots off. This means you're always guaranteed to fire no matter what the enemy missiles do. If you're using area defense and the missiles go through your range within one increment, you get no defensive fire. So you have to consider that. The self only just has to regard the fact that anything in point defense within the fleet or on top of each other, like on the map, they're right next to each other within 0 distance, they support each other automatically in destroying missiles. Okay, so if you've got 10 destroyers in a group and they all have on final offensive fire, they will all fire at the missiles that are targeting any of their ships individually. Because you have to remember, the enemy is not targeting fleets, they are targeting your ships, okay, individually, like you will target their ships individually. Then we have missiles per target. This is for anti-missile missiles, and in this case it works well for us. What this indicates is that we are essentially using a point defense mode, and how many size 1 missile launchers do we want to use to fire per missile? So let's say you've got 20 missiles incoming and anti-ship missiles incoming on a salvo. You can set that to 3 per target, and that means that you'll fire 3 tubes against 1 missile, three size 1 missiles against 1 anti-ship missile or AM missile, whatever you're using. And this means that you have a better chance of intercepting each individual missile. So if you know your missile, and we can bring this up here, if you know that your anti-missile missile can only hit, in this case, maybe, 10% of the time, okay, then we need to fire as many missiles per enemy missile as possible. So that's what you need to be considering right there. And this goes up to 5, and you can't have any more than that though, obviously. Okay. Let's move on to the right-hand side then. So on the right-hand side, we have hostile only. This will show only hostile contacts on this screen, which is good. Basically, this is just any contact belonging to a race where you have hostile selected in this window up here. Let's head back to naval log. Then we have open fire all. This will open fire all fire controls on the ship that you have. I'm going to bring up the tooltip right here. Yeah, open fire and cease fire with all selected fire controls on the ship. I'm not sure why that's not updating exactly. It must be because they don't have weapons, I would imagine so. But that's what it should do, open fire or open fire control. That will cease fire with a selected fire control or ceasefire, and it'll go orange, as you can see here. Then we have fire at will. Fire at will basically tell the ship to, and we can kind of see it here, select a fire control. So it's just select a fire control, and it will tell that fire control or the ship in general to just fire its weapons at whatever it can see and just change target. It's a bit automated, it's a bit wonky. I'd be a bit weird about using that. It should work, but your testing is your own mileage. We have assign fleet, and this will basically say, so let's say we have this ship, right? We assign all these weapons, we hit assign fleet, and then all ships of the same class in the fleet will have the same assignment, the same exact template of where we put our weapons, okay? Assign subfleet will do this for the subfleet, so if you've got a ship that's in the subfleet, you hit this button instead of this button, same exact action, but only for the subfleet itself. We then have assign system, so this will assign all ships in the system that are of this class correctly, and then this will do assign all, which is every single ship in the entire galaxy that you own of the same class with the same configuration. Then you hit open fire fleet. So what this will do is if we, I'm not sure why it's not showing up here. I think it's because we don't have a target yet, why it's not doing fire at will and why it's not doing open fire or and all this stuff. But basically what this will do is say open fire to the entire fleet. So you select fire control, and then it will say the entire fleet will open fire all at once. And then fleet fire at will, so they'll fire at whatever target that's within range, that's within sense data, within fire control with weapons that are assigned to them. And then we have fire fleet main missile fire control, so this will fire their missile fire controls, and this will fire their beam fire controls. We then have cease fire fleet, so this will cease fire all. So if we do open fire control right there, and we do ceasefire fleet, that'll take that off. So anything in the fleet, no matter what class, will be ceasefired. We can then clear targets for the ship. So we select the fire control, or we can clear all targets for the entire ship itself, so every target on the fire controls. We can also assign the fire controls, which is the button you want to be using a lot. This auto assignment, as we'll split this up in an intelligent manner, it's usually good 99% of the time, though sometimes it's not. Also target, main fire control, and B fire control. These can be useful if you don't know what targets to go for. And then also 2 times range will allow you to target stuff 2 times range, I believe. Though obviously you won't have 2 times range. Alright, and that's essentially what this window is. Down here, there's some other stuff which we'll go into at a later point. The most important thing is just remember you need to turn your actives on. So select the ship, turn actives on. You can also, with the movement, just go into movement orders, select like a Earth, for example, and just hit active sensors on. And this will make sure that all the sensors go on for the entire fleet. There's a bunch of other stuff over here, pretty self-explanatory, a lot of them. What I will do is I'll have follow-up videos to Naval Organization, but I hope you have enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Consider becoming a member and supporting me in a financial manner. It does really help out. Keep making these videos for you guys, as many of you already have done. And yeah, I'll see you guys, as I said, next time. You guys have a good one.